Community Media is now testing our audio and video systems performance in preparation for live cablecast of an upcoming scheduled event. Please enjoy the program, which is scheduled to start soon.
Live yet? Lights on? Can you guys hear me? Closer to it. All right. Thank you all for coming out on a rainy night. We do have a quorum, I'm told, so I think we can get underway. Without further ado, this will call the meeting to order. This special town meeting, September 25th, 2025, right? Hope I can get the right century. It just came from a talk by Rachel Revere, so forgive me if I go back into the 18th century. All right, I think, all right, we got Dr. Kell here now, and members of the, well, I guess we'll go right to the reading of the return of the warrant. Matt, could you read the return of the warrant, please?
Pursuant to the within warrant, I have notified and warned the inhabitants of the town of Townsend by posting up attested copies of the same at Memorial Hall, 272 Main Street at the center, West Townsend Reading Room, 264 Dudley Road, West Townsend, Police Communications Center, 70 Brookline Road, Harbor Fire Station at 47 Main Street, and Harbor Church, 80 Main Street, at least 14 days before the date of the meeting, as within directed, signed, George Reed, Police Officer of Townsend.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayotte. And sitting to the left of the town clerk, Harrison Mayotte, is our town council, Adam Costa. Then is our town administrator, Nelson Wee. Chairman of the Board of Select Board, Laura Wright. Sorry about that, Laura Schifrin. Laura Schifrin. Veronica Kell, and senior moment there, and Valerie Goodrich. For this FinCom, we do have Sam Grant. I'm not sure. I think there are a couple other members of FinCom that will be attending, but might be a little bit late. I guess no problem finding a seat tonight. And just remind everyone that we are being recorded on Townsend Community Access Media, Channel 8. It can be viewed at home. And I think to begin the meeting, we should say the Pledge of Allegiance. We don't have the scouts here tonight, but if you don't mind, I'll read it. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Just to remind everyone, we conduct the meeting according to the rules under town meeting time. Request that everybody be recognized before you speak on a matter. Direct your comments and questions to the chair, to the moderator. All motions must be in writing and brought to the clerk. If a matter is finally voted on, it may be reconsidered upon a majority vote. If the motion to reconsider is made tonight, or if this meeting goes into a second evening, it would require a 9/10 vote to reconsider an article. Votes are taken by ayes and noes, and I will determine the outcome of a voice vote. If I'm in doubt, I may ask for a redo, or I may ask for a standing count. If the vote tally, as I declare it, is challenged by 7 voters, we will have to take a standing count. If you're confused about something or wish to make a point of order, you may raise the point of order by stating so, and then I'll recognize you. You may interrupt the speaker, and I'll recognize you. Once recognized, you can state your point of order, and I'll rule on that point of order. If for some reason you can't hear what's going on, or there's something interfering with your participation, you can rise to a point of privilege. Just state Mr. Moderator, point of privilege, and I'll recognize you. You state what's bothering you, your point of privilege, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to ask everybody to be courteous and maintain the decorum of the meeting. Keep applause to a minimum. If there are visitors here that wish to speak, and I didn't mention the fact, if there are any visitors, they should be seated over there and have a tag on it indicating such. I think that concludes everything we need to do preliminarily. We will, I guess, go right to Article 1. I move that the town, this is, I'm reading the motions, I'll read that. I'll take the article up. To see if the town will vote to transfer the care, custody, control of 0 Dudley Road, shown on Assessors Map 19, Block 80, Lot 0, from the Select Board, presently possessed by it for general and municipal purposes, to the town's Conservation Commission, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator.
Scout.
Mr. Moderator.
Can everyone hear it?
Yes. I move that the town transfer the care, custody, and control of 0 Dudley Road, shown on Assessor's Map 19, Lot 80, Lot 0, from the Select Board, presently possessed by it for general municipal purposes, to the town's Conservation Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there anything to be said? Any explanation about this article?
This piece of property is the common open space for the open space preservation development at Peter J. Drive on Dudley Road. When it was permitted, the rules in town were different for open space preservation developments. Now, typically, they go to the Conservation Commission, usually with a CR on them, or to another organization that will protect them in perpetuity. This one was transferred to the Select Board, and quite frankly, I think the Select Board and the Conservation Commission all thought it was the Conservation Commission's property, that it was under them, and it's not. And so that's the purpose.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kell. Any questions, comments? Yes, Moran, did you raise your hand? All right, oh yeah, we do have 2 microphones, so if you do have a question, if you can approach, you can raise your hand too, but then I'll ask you to approach the microphone. So, Lindsay, do you have a question?
I just want to know where it is exactly and how much land.
Okay, the question comes on the motion, where it is and how much land?
If you go past Atwood Acres, it's on the left. It's Peter J. Drive, and there are houses there. There's a cluster of homes, and it's the land behind it. I think it might even abut the land around Atwood Acres and Townsend Woods. And as far as the amount, I didn't look that up, but is James Gates here? Do you know offhand if he's here?
20 acres, about it.
James said he thinks it's 20 acres, about. So.
It's my recollection too that the intention was for it to go for conservation or open space purposes. So, as part of land that was conveyed as a result of the development off of Dudley Road. So, I don't see any other questions, so I think we're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 1, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it, it's unanimous. Article 2. I am not going to read the entire article. This is a zoning article, which we will have a presentation on. It is the accessory dwelling unit bylaw, basically, being revised. Unless someone, I think unless someone objects strongly, and then we'll take a vote if anybody does object, I think we can also omit the full reading of the motion, but I'll leave that up to the planning board. Mr. Shepherd, on Article 2 concerning the accessory dwelling unit bylaw, is this accessory dwelling unit or an MBTA? This is MBTA, all right. Sorry about that. MBTA, Mr. Shepherd, do you have a motion?
I move to see if the town will vote to amend its zoning bylaw, being Chapter 145 of the Town Code, as read in the town warrant.
Okay, the motion is to, and seconded, to amend the town zoning bylaw, being Chapter 145, as printed in the warrant. And everyone has a copy of the warrant? Okay, preliminarily, we need a report from the planning board, which I understand Mr. Shepherd will give us now.
I have some brief remarks. If I won't get in trouble, I'll turn and face the audience.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. My name is Andrew Shepherd. I'm currently the chair of the Town Planning Board. I'd like to briefly introduce the other board members. Ooh, got silence in this. The other board members that we have present tonight. So we have Carol Hofstas up at the table. We've got Robert Therian. We've got Hartley Pleshaw, and we have Lance McNally as well in the back. And I'd also like to welcome our newest member who was sworn in only a few hours ago, Brett King, who wasn't able to make it tonight. So Article 2 and 3 are part of the MBTA Communities bylaws. This MBTA Communities law was passed by the legislature in 2021 in a desire to affect the state's housing shortage. Under this law, Townsend was designated as an MBTA's adjacent small town community and tasked with zoning for 178 multifamily housing units by right, or 5% of our total housing stock. The elephant in the room on this matter is that the state is attempting to force us to do this. They have tied compliance to grant funding. Internally, the town has estimated that previous funding of grants have totaled up to around $2 million that could be affected. The state has made it purposely opaque as to know how much funding a municipality could lose out on. Other towns have fought this in court, at expense to their taxpayers, and have had limited success. We, as your planning board, have diligently worked on this proposal since 2023. At the core, while we do not believe in the state's methods of implementation, we do believe in the purpose. We in the town of Townsend have limited housing options, and it would serve our residents to have more options. For over 2 years, we worked with the Regional Planning Commission, considered different districts, received feedback from state officials, offered a public survey, and evaluated potential bylaws. What we are proposing is somewhat of an innovative approach. In a district that was already zoned as outlying commercial, we are allowing for some existing commercial rights to retain to the property and allowing by right multifamily, two-family, and single-family development. The intent of this bylaw is not to have one type of building cookie cutter throughout, but a variety consistent with our community. We also hope that the density may be an incentive to build some commercial spaces facing Route 13. I want to highlight some of the important parts of this bylaw briefly before we open up to questions, support, or concerns. This has nothing to do with Blood Road or Article 6 on tonight's warrant. Nothing is currently proposed, and no one has approached the planning board about any development on this property. This area has already been designated as outlying commercial district and will remain as such if it is passed or not. This is not affordable housing. This bylaw has no affordable component. This bylaw is designated for market rate units and would be taxed by the town at a market rate. There is no town water or sewer at this location, inherently limiting the ability for a developer to meet the number of desired units. It is important that you view these articles together. If 2 passes, it is essential that we pass Article 3 to encourage the diversity of building types. I think what this boils down to is a simple premise. The planning board has thoughtfully chosen a lot and an area at the edge of town. The main decision before the townspeople is, do we want to access the potential state grants or not? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Shepherd. That's the planning board's report. There was the, I'm sorry, I may have missed it, Mr. Shepherd, but what was the vote of the planning board?
The planning board voted to recommend the passage of Articles 2 and 3.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other questions or anything to be said? Okay, all right, Ms. Moran, would you step up, please, or, I'm not sure, I saw Mr. Moran's hand first, Ms. Reno, so, all right, gonna defer, okay.
Hey, Reno, Wallace Hill Road. My understanding from watching the meeting online was that the new bylaw,
Can you speak right into the microphone?
the new overlay district allows this development by right. Does that also mean that someone could develop on that overlay district by right and through Chapter 40B, is it, where they bypass a lot of the maybe septic and conservation, would those two
Okay.
possibly dual used by some builders?
This question comes on motion. Mr. Shepherd, can you respond?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. For the record, Adam Costa, Town Council. The simple answer to your question is yes, 40B remains an option for a potential developer of the property. I wouldn't refer to it as dual use because a developer would really have to choose between utilizing the provisions of the zoning that's proposed tonight, which is in fact an as-of-right process that would require site plan review, but not any sort of a discretionary special permit, or the developer alternatively could choose to utilize the state's Affordable Housing Law, Chapter 40B, which prescribes an entirely different process. So for example, the zoning that's proposed tonight that's on the warrant that we're presently discussing directs a possible or potential developer to the planning board for the planning board to administer that site plan review process. A proponent or developer of this property under the zoning that's proposed tonight would still be subject to all non-zoning controls, whether those be requirements relative to sewer or septic, whether those be requirements relative to wetlands protection. There is nothing in this bylaw that would exempt a project or a proponent of a project from those requirements. 40B opens the door to exemptions from those other types of law, but 40B is not on the warrant tonight. 40B is a state law that permits applicants to supersede or to evade requirements of local zoning. There's not a whole lot that we as municipalities can do to avoid that because it's a state law that preempts your local ordinances and bylaws. But this would provide an alternative to a proponent and would potentially incentivize a proponent to utilize this process and comply with those other non-zoning controls as opposed to using Chapter 40B, which would really be the only other way to get increased density on this parcel.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Mr. Moran, do you have a follow-up question or do you have another separate question? If you could approach the microphone, Lindsay. And please state your name and address for the record.
Lindsay Moran, North End Road, Townsend. Question, where exactly is it and how many acres?
This question comes on the motion to location.
So, Andrew Sharp again, Townsend Planning Board. In your packet tonight, you should have got a handout called the MBTA Communities. On the bottom left-hand corner, it shows you a snapshot of the district. The proposed district is at the end, towards the end of Route 13 and the bottom of Old City Road.
So if you're on,
That's 12, I believe it's 12 acres. You're headed towards Lunenburg, town center is back, will be on your right, down near where more communication is.
Questions come on the motion? Is there anything else to be said? If you have a question, please raise your hand high so I can see you. Oh, all right, Mr. Darian.
My name is Robert Therian. I'm a member of the planning board, and I am also a taxpayer of the town and speaking on two levels here. First of all, as Mr. Shepherd has presented, this was a mandate that came from the governor's office, and in that mandate, the town is either to comply with the requirements or present itself in a position where it could forfeit state funding in various areas. From 2023 to the current date, I've been on this board and been actively trying to comply with the mandate and in a sense that would be most beneficial for the community. And we explored all different endeavors, different parts of town. I adamantly tried to make the requirement of achieving 178 units by disparity across the community and instead of one concentrated area. That concept was rejected by the Commonwealth, and we also tried a concept to establish a sort of another village on the east end of town where there were apparently more services. That was also rejected because there was an aquifer concern. So the end product of what you see tonight is a combination of zoning bylaws that would comply with the MBTA requirements. And the end site selection is a product of various studies throughout the town. And the end result is that location was selected with the approval of the state for several reasons. One, it was closest to the Fitchburg Transportation Center. It was an area that was not developed, that the town had previously planned for commercial use, and met a lot of other environmental requirements and conditions and concerns. So in my opinion, it's probably the best property in the entire town. So here you have tonight citizens of this town to, one, accept what's being proposed to you, or secondly, reject it. The rejection, as has been stated before, could expose the town to up to $2 million of lost funding. So I want to make clear, as a planning board and as a member of the planning board, the recommendation tonight is not an endorsement. It is a recommendation, and we did not want to jeopardize or make a statement that would prevent you as the citizens making the determination. And I'm going to close with that comment so that everybody has an ongoing perspective. So here you're going to approve an overlay district as we can best present it to the Commonwealth. And here you're going to approve an assortment of zoning bylaw changes to comply with that new district, and inclusive in them are other bylaws that we were working with regardless of the MBTA district. So what I can present to you is if we're going with the zoning bylaw and the MBTA approved proposal, this board diligently worked to make it the most beneficial method to do that for the community. In the bylaw, we included some other things that would assure that if it was developed, it would be the most harmonic for the community. And I can close with that. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion. Anything else to be said? Up in the back, is that Mr. Fanioli? If you could step down to the microphone, please. And, oh, Mr. Dufresne.
I just had one question for clarity. Bob Dufresne, Laurel Woods Drive, Townsend. The question I have is, it might be premature. I understand this is about to get the zone approved. In the criteria, defined detail, is an access road have to go on Old City Road as well as Route 13, or is that too far in advance to know like what kind of design that would be? Is it just on the map, just basically a zone area, land? But as far as a development, I'm now thinking ahead, like, yeah, you're saying there's nothing being considered for development at this point, no proposals, but do anyone have any insight already on what does this mean once it's approved from a traffic standpoint, things like that? So I'm just curious, a little finer, more detail. So that's my question. Thank you.
Okay. A question comes on the motion, and Mr. Shepherd can answer that.
Thank you, Bob. Nice to meet you. Joe, you correct me if I'm wrong. I do not believe it's required to be on Old City Road. The way we shaped the district was to have a section of it touch Old City Road for the potential for a developer to have two means of access and egress, whether it was public safety or just minimizing traffic in that sense.
So it could potentially be on Route 13, two accesses in and out on, based on how far down on 13 as well.
Correct. Yeah, it could be entry and exit on Route 13 only. It could also be Route 13 and Old City. Depends on what the developer decides upon reviewing the law.
Okay, thank you.
Comments and answers come on the motion. Anything else to be said? Yeah, okay. Mr. Grant?
Sam Grant, Old City Road and Pittsburgh Road. Could somebody explain to me how a developer has the right to block up and destroy wetlands in this town? Which is, if you go out on 13, you have to. I mean, we have a wetlands law that forbids citizens from getting anywhere near the wetland. And at the same time, you're saying people with money can come in and they can do what they want with those wetlands. And I do not know of any way to put a bridge, especially one big enough to hold a development like that, that doesn't do a lot of damage. Thank you.
Question comes on the motion, and Mr. Shepherd.
Sam, I'm not sure exactly how to answer your question. There's no tentative proposals, so it'd be up, that wetlands wouldn't, we're not giving them the ability to do anything to wetlands that they, in the regular building process that they would be restricted from already. Does that make sense?
Just to talk about something that's a whole lot bigger than that. Take down 119 to get to 495, and Market Basket, O'Neill's, etc. The state allowed a developer to go in there and destroy a whole lot of wetlands in order to build that development there. This is a very micro version of that, but this is still, there's just no way to get from, I know it's good land where the majority of it is all the way from Old City back through it. I'm just concerned about, you know, again, the people with the money get to do what they want and the people without it don't.
They would still have to go through the Conservation Commission and the state, even though it's the law to which we are enacting this bylaw, the state doesn't have approval on what would get built by any means.
I'm just, you know, I think it's a great idea. Don't get me wrong about the place is beautiful. It's nicely located, I guess, comparatively speaking, to where else you might have put it. You all have thought about that. I'm just concerned about that, you know, one little leg. Thank you.
Any comments come on the motion? Mr. Ferry?
I'm trying to clarify a lot of, you know, it's hard to envision what type of development would be proposed in this area. In our zoning changes that we put in here, we've tried to encourage a disparity of building types, in other words, to eliminate a lot of high-density concentration in one area. So as prepared, the bylaws that you see that are associated with this will allow for single-family, two-family, multifamily. So it doesn't particularly, I don't want you to particularly believe that it's going to have a specific prototype. Regardless of what any developer would propose for that area, we also have to bear in mind that a developer may not oppose to develop the entire area. Two, that they will also be subject to the other regulatory requirements in the town, including the needs of the health department, the fire department, and needs of the police department, conservation. So any project, no matter where it's located in the town, is still subject to those regulatory requirements. So when you envision this particular location and envision what a developer is going to have to address, he's not only, all this bylaw and this article is about allowing that kind of activity in this part of the community. And subsequently, the other requirements for our local regulatory agencies are going to apply to any project. So in viewing this location, a potential developer is going to have to address needs for sanitation, the needs for water supply. Obviously, if it's a high-rise multifamily unit that he's proposing, we don't have a current water supply system that could service that kind of a building. So whatever the developer will be proposing, he has to deal with the economics and financial restraints to deliver what's going to meet the requirements of our town. So I know the first thing is that the first vision that comes to mind is high-density housing, and it's zoned for that. But then we have to envision the type of structure. So in our bylaw, our planning board is prepared. We've provided other parameters here to whatever divine development is being proposed. It has to meet other community requirements. And so those are additional burdens that a developer would have to do and entertain. However, we can't ignore the fact that if there is an extreme one project where a developer has a project proposal that is financially lucrative for him, that he can provide municipal sewage or municipal water, that potential does exist. So I'm not saying it won't, it most probably would not happen immediately, that type of project, and hopefully a smaller project in nature will happen and therefore prevent a bigger project later. So we're all guessing what could happen and how it could happen, but our planning board has tried to entertain all the different potential scenarios and include whatever recommendations we have in our bylaw for you to approve tonight. Again, I just want everybody to know what is really happening here. It's an overlay district. It doesn't restrict other uses in that district, but it does basically sell the world that in our town this kind of thing can happen. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion? Sir?
Gary Blaisdell, Southborough Road. So if we approve this, does this get rid of the requirements for the MBTA, or is there still more requirements that we need to meet? You know what I mean? Is this a
I think,
piece?
if I can speak for the board, this would satisfy, if it's accepted, would satisfy the Office of Housing and Livable Communities and the statute that requires us to adopt a zoning district that allows us. Right.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Therian?
I have noticed, though, since this enactment was created by the Healy administration, I have personally witnessed approval through the legislature of huge $1 million additional funding to support this kind of activity. So this is funding that is being provided to developers. And I don't know the total number because they came in sequences, probably about 4-month intervals. So obviously, the Healy administration is really adamant about enforcing this to happen. So I want to caution you, normally a developer has to risk his funding and his funding resources, but the Commonwealth is absolutely behind helping him get this objective achieved.
Comments come on the motion. Mr. Snyder?
Mr. Moderator, move the question.
Thank you, John.
Okay, motion's been made to
Second.
move the question and seconded. This will cut off debate if it's passed. Majority vote. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. The ayes have it. All right, the motion is before you. All those in favor of the motion on Article 2, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. Okay, this does require a majority vote, and just to make sure we're not going to have any complications, I'm going to ask for a standing count. I think the ayes had it, but well, I'll declare that the ayes have it. Then does anybody want to challenge that by majority? If you do, please stand. If 7 people challenge it, we'll do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. All right. We'll do a standing count. The counters come forward. I think we've got Mr. Templeton, Mr. Lewis counting the bottom layer here, and Mr. Rideout and Ms. Messing counting the balcony. All right. Bill, where's Heidi? She's still here? Okay. Yeah. So, all right. So, all those in favor of the motion, please stand. Okay, all people that voted yes can sit down. All those that want to vote no, please stand. You guys aren't done yet? Sorry, Bob. Well, I guess we don't even need a calculator. The ayes were 77, the noes 24, therefore it does pass by a majority vote. And I'll just comment on the fact that it used to be zoning bylaw amendments had to be passed by a 2/3 majority, but roughly about 5 years ago, the state changed the law to say that if anything had to do with multifamily housing or promoting housing, the bylaw approval could be just a majority vote. And with that, we can go to Article 3, and I'm going to just double check with Town Council, because my belief, even though the Planning Board report indicates that this will require a 2/3 vote, I believe it would be a majority vote on Article 3.
So, through you, Mr. Moderator, Town Council, so Article 3 is actually a 2/3 vote, and the reason for that is Article 3's purpose is to amend what was just adopted in Article 2. And the reason why Article 3 wasn't combined with Article 2, which would have been a simpler approach, is because what Article 3 is doing is it is providing a potential not for multifamily housing, but for single-family homes as an alternative. And because the legislation you referenced earlier that lessened that quantum of vote required is limited to multifamily housing, single-family proposals such as Article 3 would not benefit from that simple majority quantum. It still requires the traditional 2/3.
All right, well, thank you. Stand corrected. All right, so with that in mind, I'll read the article to see if the town will vote to amend its zoning bylaw, being Chapter 145 of the Town Code, new Section 54.2, entitled Multifamily Overlay District, adopted via the preceding article as follows. And I won't read the rest of the article, and I'll ask for a motion. Is there a motion on Article 3? Mr. Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I move to see if the town will vote to amend its zoning bylaw, being Chapter 145 of the Town Code, new Section 54.2, entitled Multifamily Overlay District, adopted via the preceding article as written in the town warrant.
Okay. No objection to going with the printed version. Ms. Kane?
No more
I'm sorry, Ms. Lord, sorry.
But my main question is, like, how is that different? My question is, how is that different? Like, what's the difference between the one?
Please use the microphone.
Yeah, nobody else can hear you.
Identify yourself, please. Sandra Lord. My question is, without getting into like the whole thing, it's like, what's the difference between the last one and this one? Is it just substituting single homes? So you have the ability to put single homes in there instead of apartments? Or?
I think, Ms. Lord, if you give Mr. Shepherd a chance to give his report, and I'm not even sure we got a second on that.
Oh, sorry.
I thought you had a kind of a point of order. We did have a second. So why don't you let Mr. Shepherd explain what it is and might answer some of the questions you have. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you, Mrs. Lord. So in short, you know, we wanted to tie these together. When we were going through the process, I believe what happened was the state looked at when we had them all as one, and they didn't like that we were including single family, so we separated it so that it would just be, we would just submit them the original bylaw of multifamily to encourage developers to have that second ramp, to be able to have the greater diversity of housing, which is what we as a board were really going for. We had to create a second article to allow by right single family homes. And that would give the developer, as Mr. Grant said, you know, considering wetlands, considering whatever they find on the property that dictates how they develop the land, the ability to have different style of units in different properties to kind of break it up and be consistent with the community.
All right, comments come on the motion, and let's recognize Mr. Rideout.
Yeah, just a question, follow up on that.
Bill, if you could give your name and...
My name is Bill Rideout, 88 South Harbor Road. To follow up on that, if this does not pass, does that mean that we are not in compliance with the MBTA Communities Act? Is this required?
Question comes on the motion. Mr. Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Rideout. If this does not pass, it does not mean we are not in compliance. It just means that the only thing that would be able to be built on that lot by right would be multifamily units. So the goal of this article is to create diversity of that lot.
Okay. Mr. Shepherd, can you give us the planning board vote? And I know it's in your written report, but for the purpose of the record.
The planning board voted unanimously to recommend this article.
Okay. Is that at the same hearing as the previous?
That was the same hearing. It's in the same report in the printouts. Everyone has.
Okay.
That's,
all right.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Laura Dole, Meadow Road. This is the opposite of Mr. Rideout's question. If we pass this, I heard you say the state wasn't happy. If we pass this, are we sure that we're still meeting the terms we need to meet to satisfy the MBTA communities law and requirement? If we allow for single-family housing, I mean, I'm looking at the brochure, and it says multi-family zone.
I'll defer to Mr. Shepherd, but my understanding was that, I could be wrong about this, but I thought this was an overlay district, so that anything that was otherwise allowable in the district would be permitted, and I believe it was allowable to have single families, so I guess I'm questioning why do we need a separate bylaw to say single families are allowed?
You know, great question. Why do we need a separate bylaw? I think we had a similar question. You know, right here next to me is Joe Boyle. He's with the Montezut Regional Planning Commission. Joe just, you know, affirmed that we talked about in our planning meetings that yes, we will still meet the state requirements.
Okay. All right, because I know how serious the state is about this. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion. I don't know if Mr. Costa, do you want to add anything to that? Or?
No, through you, Mr. Moderator, but I can confirm the statements that have been made. There's nothing in the new MBTA Communities Act that requires that the sort of housing that you must permit to be built actually be built. And as a consequence, you're allowed to continue to permit existing underlying uses, in the case of an overlay district, to permit alternative uses within that overlay district. So the fact that you're allowing single-family homes is no different than the reality that you're also continuing to allow the commercial uses that could be built on that site today without benefiting from this proposed, or these two different proposed zoning bylaw amendment. So this won't affect in any way your compliance. By virtue of adopting Article 2 tonight, your town is now in compliance with the MBTA Communities Act. I also think, and Joe can correct me if I'm mistaken, I think to your point, Mr. Moderator, the reason that single-family homes have been added into this overlay district, even though there may be some ability to build single-family homes on the lot today consistent with the underlying zoning, is that we're working single families in the same context as we've allowed two families in the preceding article that you just passed. And what that does is it reduces some of the requirements in terms of minimum lot area, setbacks, things of that sort, so that you can build more single-family homes, the same way that you could build more two-families or more multifamily development units under the preceding article. It's giving you the ability to substitute singles for those twos or singles for those multifamily buildings, if that is a developer's choice. That would obviously result in much less density than the state is saying you're required to allow to occur here, but just because it's allowable doesn't mean a developer has to do it. There may just well be a developer that would much prefer to build single-family homes on the site than build two families or multifamily buildings.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Town Council. All right, is there any other questions? All right, come on up. You know.
Kim Green on Wallace Hill Road. I need it to be at an 11-year-old level, apparently. So, the Article 3 is allowing, for instance, a single-family home on that overlay district to be built with 40 feet of frontage and a 6,000 square foot lot, which is what's in the table.
Question comes on, motion, Mr. Shepherd.
Well, let me tell you my initial thoughts while I look for the table. So the goal of Article 3 is to create the same leeway that the developer now had in Article 2 for, three-family, two-family. If we just leave it with Article 2, there's not much more incentive to have single-family homes because you would be restricted by the existing setback requirements. So the goal of Article 3 is to make it by right as well and to minimize some of those setbacks such that...
Right, I get the philosophy.
Okay, yeah.
The practical nuts and bolts of it, it would be single-family homes, and the rest of Townsend is 200 feet, 2 acres, say. But in this one district, it would be less frontage and much smaller lots, like a third of a 2 million lot.
So it would meet the same table. Thank you.
Thank you for making it.
All right, comments come on the motion. I think we're ready to vote. All right, all those in favor of the motion on Article 3, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. I only heard about 4 no's. I think we have more than 2/3 vote. So I'm going to declare it for more than a 2/3 vote. The article passes. The motion passes. Article 4. See if the town will vote to amend Chapter 54 of the town's general bylaws entitled Historic Districts by adding a new Section 8 thereto as follows. Section 54-8, Enforcement. Building inspector shall be the enforcing official hereunder, provided, however, that both the commission and the building inspector are each specifically authorized to institute any and all actions and proceedings as either of them may deem necessary or appropriate to achieve compliance with the foregoing requirements or to prevent a threatened and or imminent violation thereof, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Goodrich?
I move that the town amend Chapter 54 of the town's general bylaws entitled Historic Districts by adding a new Section 8 thereto as follows. Section 54-8, Enforcement. The building inspector shall be the enforcing officer hereunder, provided, however, that both the commission and the building inspector are each specifically authorized to institute any and all actions and proceedings as either of them may deem necessary or appropriate to achieve compliance with the foregoing requirements or to prevent a threatened and or imminent violation thereof.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any Comments or questions? Mr. Churchville?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. I am addressing you as a member of the...
Mary Jane, could you give your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know I recognize you, but...
I know, sorry. Mary Jane Churchville, 292 Main Street. So I am addressing you as a member of the Historic District, not the Finance Committee. Just want to make that clear. And I would like to make a motion that this article be tabled at this time and to be voted on at a date and time specific after the HDC, the building commissioner, and town council have had a chance to talk and collaborate, because the HDC was not involved in this at all.
Okay. Motion to table. Double check this. All right. Is there a second? I second. Okay. Motion's been made to table the motion on Article 4. I'm sorry, Article 4. Town meeting time provides that a motion to lay on the table or table an article requires a second, but it is not debatable, and it does require a 2/3 vote to pass. So, we don't have any debate about this. Do we want to lay this on the table? All those in favor of tabling this article, or this motion? Someone up there seconded it. I don't think we have to get that in writing. Motion to table. It's procedural.
Point of order?
Yeah, what's your point of order?
Could you explain what we are doing with tabling?
Tabling, it means we're basically not voting on it, and it will come back later at another date. It's conceivable, you could take it from the table if this meeting went on for another night, but I think in practice it means that we're not taking action on this article tonight and at this meeting. All right, so if you want to give the request to have more time to study this, you would vote yes, and if you want to vote on it tonight, you would vote no, and not debatable. So, all those in favor of tabling the motion on Article 4, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. Okay. I'm going to call for that one more time, voice vote. All those in favor of tabling, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. Can't say it's 2/3, so counters, please come up. Okay, ready? All those in favor of tabling the motion, please stand. Okay, everyone that voted aye can sit down. All those that want to vote no, please stand. Iwiscar, 72 voted aye, 23 voted no, and in order to pass by 2/3 vote, they needed 71 affirmative votes. They have 72, so the motion to table passes. So that puts that vote out of our jurisdiction for tonight, unless there's a motion to reconsider. Article 5, to see if the town will accept the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 53, Section 18B, which requires the town to print certain information relating to each question that shall appear on the town ballot as further specified in said statute, and not later than 7 days before an election at which such question shall be submitted to the voters. Send such information to each household wherein a person whose name appears on the current voting list of the town resides. All right, is there a motion? Okay, we have slides up there. The meeting would like to see what's on the plate now. I can't see it, but is that right now?
It's Article 5.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Reed.
I move that the town accept the revisions of Mass General Laws, Chapter 53, Section 18B, which requires the town to print certain information relating to each question that shall appear on the town ballot as further specified in said statute, and not later than 7 days before an election at which such questions shall be submitted to the voters. Send such information to each household wherein a person whose name appears on the current voting list for the town resides.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded on Article 5. Is there anything to be said? Any explanation, folks, for this? Seems fairly evident, but I have to question or ask something, because this requires that this notice would go out not later than 7 days before the election, and nothing against the post office, but sometimes it takes 2 weeks to get mail across town, so I wonder is it something that's subject to additional time lead for this, or is this a statutory 7 days?
Through you, Mr. Moderator. Again, Adam Costa, Town Council. So this language is directly from the statute. So the 7 days is statutory. That doesn't prevent the town from providing that information further in advance of a ballot vote if it so chooses, but the 7 days is statutory and can't be altered.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Selena Thomas, 99 Warren Road. My question is, how will the town be paying for this mailer?
Okay, question comes on how to pay for this. Ms. Goodrich?
We don't have a way to pay for it at this moment in time.
Okay, an answer, Ms. King?
Cindy King, 1 West Elm Street. I'm going to speak out against this article for partially the answer to that question. I'm concerned about we've been in trouble financially for a couple of years and hearing about overrides and trying to cut costs and talking about laying off people. And I think that trying to pay for something that really concerns me about the extent of the mailing. I know we have, I think, somewhere over north of 6,000 registered voters, and I'm getting a nod from the town clerk. And when we have a municipal election, I mean, if something's really heated, we can get maybe a couple thousand come out, but this will go to, the mailing will go to the 6,000 voters. I've for over 40 years, and I've seen many municipal elections that have 400, 600 people vote. So, and I don't think mailing something to 6,000 people, that we can have another conversation about the trash fees, where this stuff is going to go after you get it to your house in the United States mail. I'm trying to get rid of mail. I'm trying to get everything sent to me electronically. I don't want any more mail. And this, I mean, I pay attention to what's going on, so I know I'm going to throw it right into recycling. I want to opt out of this mailing if I can. And I would rather see the people on stage, the town, come up with more creative ways to communicate with the townspeople. We have no adopted townwide, actually owned by the government, Facebook pages or social media, but I think that our leadership and even us can come up with better ways to get communication to each and every one of us, or those that care, that want to listen. People that don't want to listen aren't going to do anything with that mailing anyway. But I've been quoted approximately $800 to do a town-wide mailing, and we've been having multiple town elections every year because of override questions, and I think that this is just going to add up to an expense that we've not had before, and it's a new expense, and I think it's a waste of money, and I'd rather find alternative ways to tell me what's going on. Thank you.
Any comments come on the motion? Mr. Rideout?
Yeah, Phil Rideout, 88 South Harbor Road. Following up on what Cindy said, what would be the implications if we vote no? I mean, I don't want to lose $2 million in grants. So what are the implications for voting no? Because it certainly doesn't seem to be very appealing.
Question comes on the motion. If we vote no, what happens? Ms. Goodrich? Or?
This would be in addition, there's no changes if we vote no, correct?
Just no changes. Whatever we're doing now is what we're doing now, and I don't think that there's nothing affirmative from the state government that requires us to do this, right?
That's correct. Through you, Mr. Moderator, Town Council. So right, this is an opt-in statute. It's been on the books for quite some time. It's not tied to any grant funding or other incentives from the state. Some communities have chosen to accept the statute. By virtue of accepting the statute, it provides you with the flexibility to provide these mailers. In the absence of having that ability, municipalities are quite restricted with respect to the extent to which they can distribute information about a ballot question under the rules of the laws of campaign finance in Massachusetts. So, as I said, some communities have chosen to adopt the statute, but if you choose not to adopt the statute, it simply maintains the status quo. You don't lose access to grants or anything of that sort as a consequence.
Questions come on the motion. I'm going to make a request, but I know the cost of this has been brought up. I just wondered if the selectmen did, maybe I missed it, but did you guys get an idea of what this would cost to do a mailing of this sort? What it actually would cost? I mean, I know a stamp is 72 cents, so I imagine you could do cheaper than that.
I refer to the town clerk for this.
All right, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Moderator. The cost that was estimated, so for an every door direct mail, because the requirement of the law is that it be sent to every household, not to each individual registered voter. So the cost for an every door direct mail to go to everywhere in town is about $800. The cost in materials and staff time would probably be $200 to $300. So about $1,000 per election in additional expense.
All right, thank you. Issues come on the question. I'm going to ask you, sir.
Mr. Moderator, Chris Thurrott, 2 Pierce Road. Except that there's a light. I'm a little confused through you to the town council about the requirement here because it says requires, but then the statute is actually opt-in. So do we get to, if we adopt this, are we indeed required to send these mailers with every election?
If we adopt it, we are required to do it.
That's correct, Mr. Moderator. If you adopt it, the statute itself is opt-in. You're not obligated or required to adopt the statute. But if you choose to adopt the statute, then yes, you are then required to comply with the statute by providing these mailings. And it's not necessarily every election. It's every election on which there is a ballot question.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Mr. Therian.
I want to have the citizens entertain this emotion because throughout I've been involved with 2 departments in the town, and we no longer have 1,000 times. We don't. And by sending a mailing out, first of all, the responsible government of the town is alerting everybody of what's happening and can feel confident that they did their job in notifying the citizens of their town. So I endorse it, and because otherwise people are at their own resources to find out what is happening in town. And there's so many things that are going on, and to expect that they can be done by putting on asking people to go to a website regularly to see the town agenda is one thing, but if you have it in your mail, you certainly have the option to discard it. You have the option to read it at any time that's convenient to you. And as far as the town's concerned, or the people getting that information, we've done everything possible to notify the citizens of our town about what's coming up for ballot. And if you witness what's happened in the last 3 years with town meetings, in so many circumstances we didn't even have a quorum. And then when it comes to the school budget, we have an overwhelming quorum. So obviously the communication is out in the school district, but not in the town proper. So about a town meeting and the importance of one. So if the town is going to make the effort to pay for a town meeting, it certainly should feel confident and it notified everybody properly. The current standard is it's up to your obligation to find the town meeting being posted at a building in Townsend Harbor and at the town hall or at another location. To me, this is a direct way to communicate with the citizens, and it's of major interest to them and gives them every opportunity to encourage voting in our community. Thank you.
Comments come on the motion, and one more question here. So, well, I guess if you don't mind, all right.
This is very specific. It wouldn't actually be for notifying about town meetings or anything like that. It's purely ballot questions. There'd be a yes and a no explanation, similar to what you get from the state. You know, when we get that, we get the mail out. That is what this would be, just on the town level. It wouldn't notify about town meetings or any other thing like that.
Any comments come on the comments? Ma'am?
Selena Thomas, 99 Warren Road again. A clarification. So if we vote no on this, is the town allowed to disseminate this information like through the town email blast that goes out or through another town site? Because in general, I'm very much for getting the information out to people. And if this is the only way we're allowed to do it according to the rules, that would be good to know.
Question comes on the motion, is this the only way to do it? Mr. Costa.
Through you, Mr. Moderator. As an attorney, I don't like to talk in superlatives, so I'm not going to say it's the only way to do it. I'm going to say that many of the other ways to do it can be complicated. Because of what the Office of Campaign Finance has said, no municipal resources can typically be used in the dissemination of information that could be viewed as either favoring or disfavoring a ballot question. Otherwise, you'd have, let's say, your select board who might be in favor of a ballot question disseminating lots of information about why the voters should adopt it, and there wouldn't be, nobody would understand the opposite, the opposite effect, the flip side of the coin, so to speak. So municipal resources can't be used. So you referred to, for example, an email blast. An email blast might be a way to get the information out if it were simply informational and was not persuasive in any way. But the idea of other sorts of mailings, even the use of public facilities, public buildings, for example, can be challenging in these circumstances if the purpose of the meeting is to discuss the pros and cons of a particular ballot question. So I'm not prepared to say it can't be done in any other way. There's no other way to get information out because there are some other ways it can be done. But the purpose and objective of this statute was to provide a defined way to make it happen. When you read the provisions, and it's not included verbatim within Article 5, but when you read the provisions of Section 18B, it defines quite specifically what would be included in this mailing. It includes, number one, the full text of the question. Number two, a fair and concise summary of the question, including a one-sentence statement that describes the effect of a yes or a no vote. And then number 3, an argument for and an argument against, each of which is limited to 150 words. So the idea is that by complying with this very particular statute, you have in one place, in the form of a single mailer, the information that you need as a voter with respect to a ballot question. Again, I'm not advocating for or against it, but that's the context in which the statute arises and some of the challenges in attempting to do these same things outside of this statutory context.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Costa. Ms. Spofford.
Kathleen Spofford, 312 Main Street. Although this sounds really good, and I think it's important to get the information out to the people, my concern is vote by mail and absentee voting. Those ballots go out at least 3 weeks before the election. Will this information go out before the ballots? Otherwise, are you disenfranchising those voters by not giving them the information that the other voters will have after the mailing goes out?
Just offer a comment. That's a good point. I know Mr. Costa earlier, I think, said that there's nothing that prohibits the town from sending it out sooner. When I raised the question about 7 days might not be enough. So whether or not, I think a lot of it depends on the whole timing of things. If a ballot question is proposed, and I'm not sure what the timing is in terms of absentee ballots. Obviously, it would need some forethought. I don't know if anybody has a further comment or my observation. All right, I think it's before you. All those, I don't see any other questions, so I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion on Article 5, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. It requires a majority vote, so I think the noes have it. And that brings us to...
Mr. Moderator?
Yep, Mr. Shepherd.
If I may, Mr. Moderator, Gary Shepherd, 90 Old Meeting House, Hill Road, Townsend. I'd like to reconsider Article 4. We've been down this road, and we've got 100 people tonight making these decisions for the town. As of right now, there is no method for any arbitrary or intermediary to look at a zoning question other than refer back to the HDC. The building inspector is a paid professional with a lot of credentials and experience and knowledge about different zoning and bylaws, so we make a simple request to table something with no debate or no discussion, and we don't understand the validity of what's at risk. And so by simply tabling that, we now have to wait until either the fall or next spring. Point of order. So I'd like to reconsider number 2. If there's ability to debate this, happy to do it. Apparently Cindy's got more throw to get things going.
Motion to reconsider requires a majority vote. What's your point of order?
My point of order is normally at town meeting you don't allow people to make a motion and then give a presentation on it, and Mr. Shepherd just made a motion and then continued to give a whole speech on why.
Right.
So that's my point of order, so I want to call this motion out of order.
So you're quite right, Ms. King. Overindulge you, Mr. Shepherd, because I did not hear a second motion to reconsider.
Second.
Motion's been made to reconsider, and it's been seconded. I think, Mr. Shepherd, you've stated your case. I'm going to ask for any other comments.
Mr. Moderator, if I could.
Yeah, Mr. Costa.
So my concern is that the typical context in which a motion to reconsider arises is when there has been a vote on the substance of an article, and it's been voted up or voted down, and there's a desire by the body to later reconsider that vote. In this instance, there was no vote on Article 4, rather the vote was on a motion to table. So I think the appropriate motion, if the intention is to remove it from the table, which can occur at any time within the same town meeting, the same evening, or a future continued session of the town meeting, would be a motion to remove it from the table. It's sort of two sides of the same coin because it's still a simple majority vote, non-debatable. But I think that's the appropriate motion, and that would then place the article back before the voters on the substance.
I think you're right, Mr. Costa. Since it was tabled, not voted down or up, the vote was to table that article, and so the proper motion would be to remove from the table. That is a motion that is not debatable and needs a majority vote to pass. So it's kind of like I moved the question. I think sometimes a town meeting time would, the moderator would be given the ability to say, well, what has happened to change the meeting's opinion about this in order to require some reconsideration, if there's some new information or not. But since this was such a close vote, I think that it's proper to bring a motion to take it from the table. Again, that's going to be a majority vote, so if people are of the same mind, we will not be reconsidering this, Mr. Shepherd, but we have to take it from the table first. So all those in favor of taking Article 4 from the table, which would bring it back before the town meeting to debate and discuss, all those in favor of doing that, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. I would have to say the majority is no. But if there's some people want to question that, we can have a vote. All right, the motion to take from the table does not pass. And that brings us to Article 6. Which is to see if the town will vote to amend Section 145-26 residential districts, append text at the end of Section 145, Section -26B 14. Notwithstanding any provision of this bylaw to the contrary, an apartment/multifamily building is defined by 145-5 is prohibited on the following parcels: Assessors Map 10, Parcel 52, Flood Road, and Assessors Map 10, Parcel 70, West Elm Street. Also to amend Section 145-47, Open Space Multifamily Development, OSMD, and insert at the end of Section 145-47B, quote, the provisions of this section shall not apply to Assessors Map 10, Parcel 52, and Assessors Map 10, Parcel 70, or take any other action in relation thereto. Is there a motion?
Mr. Moderator?
Yep.
Cindy King, 72 West Elm Street. I make the motion for, as just stated, and according to the number 6 article on the warrant.
As stated in the warrant. Okay, is there a second? Okay, motion made and seconded on Article 6. Is a written motion, and this is citizen petition. Is there a planning board report?
We do have Mr. Moderator, Andrew Shepherd, Chair of the Planning Board. We held a public hearing on this matter this past Monday. Read the following results from the Planning Board report. It said the Planning Board voted unanimously to not recommend adoption of the citizens petition, proposed zoning amendments for the following reasons. 1, the comments from the town zoning enforcement officer, which states, I see no reason that these 2 lots/parcels should be singled out as not to allow multifamily. The table of uses allows multifamily within the RA and RB districts with special permit from the ZBA and should not be accepted. Robert Garside, Townsend Zoning Enforcement Officer. 2, while the Planning Board acknowledges the concerns raised by the residents in the petition, these matters are most appropriately addressed by the relevant regulatory departments and agencies. 3, potential violations of spot zoning principles under Massachusetts law, singling out 2 specific parcels, map 10, parcels 52 and 70, for a multifamily prohibition while allowing such uses elsewhere in residential or open space multifamily development, OSMD, zones, risks being deemed spot zoning, which is illegal under Massachusetts law. Spot zoning occurs when zoning changes target a small area without a rational bias tied to the public welfare. The petition lacks evidence of unique environmental, traffic, or infrastructure constraints on these parcels that justify such restriction, especially since the existing bylaws already regulate development impacts. And 4, finally, approving.
John?
All right, 4 was really short. We are worried about approving the petition could set a precedent for ad hoc zoning changes, undermining the planning board's ability to guide orderly development and potentially complicating future housing initiatives.
Okay, that's the planning board's report. Okay, people couldn't hear your last comments there.
All right, I'll read the last one. Number 4 was approving such a petition could set a precedent for ad hoc zoning changes, undermining the planning board's ability to guide orderly development and potentially complicate future housing initiatives.
Okay, you hear that then? All right, Ms. King.
Well, for the requesting a proposed zoning change in the designation of parcels on Blood Road, map 10, lot 52, and West Elm Street, map 10, lot 70, for the following reasons that align with the goals of Town of Townsend Master Housing Production, prepared by J.M. Goldman for the town, 2022 and 2026. One of them is to help preserve agricultural land and be good stewards of forest through forestry management, to help reduce our collective carbon footprint. Keeping land in its natural state would assist with Townsend and Massachusetts green energy goals. Trees will contain greenhouse emissions and therefore help to combat climate change. And also, pleased to help save and protect the wetlands. I believe that the town of Townsend would suffer irreparable damage and harm if there's no effort to preserve land for these purposes. One step closer to saving the planet, please vote yes on warrant article number 6, and thank you for considering this.
Any comments come on the motion on Article 6? Are there any other questions or comments? Up in the balcony, if you could come down.
Lois Westerback, 35 West Elm Street, West Townsend. The point I just want to bring up is, these are
If you could step up to the microphone.
I'm getting there.
Otherwise, people can't hear it. And they can't hear at home.
Lois Westerback, 35 West Elm Street, West Townsend. My comment on selecting these two out of the realm of the parcels that were chosen are mainly because there's an intermittent stream, there are wells, and it's a nice wooded area. There's basically, from the top of the hill, there's a swamp here, there's a swamp there, there's a swamp basically in that bed. That whole part of the houses is sitting kind of in the intermittent streams valley. And I really think that's inappropriate choice of land for any building, never mind affordable housing. I think that whole hill's kind of maxed out with the leach systems in it and the drainage. I happen to be the swamp before the swamp at Linden Street. My 3/4 of an acre is mostly swamp. And if you put any more of these leach fields in the spring, instead of just having this mild smell, it's going to increase unless you're going to change the sewage. So I want to know what they propose for sewage and how they can think, unless they have city sewage, that would be possible to put that many families on that. The ground needs the swamps because we're mostly glacial till and ledge, bedrock. So if you don't have appropriate places for these bacteria to gather up and process our fecal and our urinary wastes and anything else we're putting down our toilets and making our leach fields. You have the cuckasucker truck comes. He just pumps out what's in the tank. Your fluids are still flowing through your leach field and into the ground and into aquifers eventually. So the more, more of these swamps you have that help process this, the less of our E. coli and other nasty bacteria is going to be haunting us. So I think that these two, it's not spot zoning. You're spot zoning when you chose them in the first place. It's not spot zoning. It is, these two are just inappropriate, I feel, for any kind of building.
Any comments come on the motion? Ms. Craven?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. So I listened with interest on the first
motion, or the second article, where we were talking about the MBTA, which I did vote for, consistent with the community, we made exceptions, we made changes so that that could be an overlay district that not just had the high-density housing, but offered the opportunity to have other houses in there, a mixed type of development. And here we have 2 lots that equal 7 acres. For those of you that might have been at the May 2022 town meeting, I spoke vehemently about the select boards, and I know there's only one of you up there now that is from that May 2022 meeting, that we should not be wasting our town's time of putting these 2 particular lots into the housing trust because of the difficulty of people that I knew that were building in that very same area that did not want to build on those lots because of the difficulty of the terrain, the wet area, the endangered plants, the endangered species, the vernal pools that were not registered and are still not registered on that land, the fact that there is an intermittent seasonal stream that is in a sensitive area, that area is perpetually wet. We have a sports organization that has been put through the ringer, spending an inordinate amount of time to make sure that we are sensitive to the turtles before they can build a soccer field. But yet we have a town entity, and I don't know if the other housing trust folks are here, so sorry, I'm only speaking to one that's on the stage, but we have a town entity that is proposing to put 10 buildings on a lot, to have an impervious surface for 60 vehicles on an extremely sloped lot that is perpetually wet, with an additional building. Now this is just proposed, it's a concept, maybe it will change, but whether this passes or not, we have to start thinking as the housing trust of what would be consistent and what would be appropriate. And maybe there could be, with some thought and engineering, that there would be some appropriate buildings that could be put on there, but to take the amount of funding that we have to take from the housing trust to put it out to bid to find someone that would be interested in lots that are difficult at best to develop, I don't think with our scarce resources, it's the best use of what we should be doing. So whether this is the right way to address it, or whether it's we ensure that what would be needed for any other lots, so you're gonna say this is NIMBY, you're gonna say this is spot zoning, but in order to get in RB, which this is residential B, you would have to have, for those 2 lots to be combined, you'd have to have a minimum of 8 acres to have 1 building. But this concept, whether this one moves forward or not, there's more work to be done, it's not the right approach. So again, there's folks that are upset because they've seen this concept drawn. This might not, again, be the right way, but there has to be work done on the housing trust approach to what is right and consistent for the neighborhood. But most importantly, with that lot, those 2 lots can support.
Comments come on the motion. Mr. Therrien.
Just to address some of the comments that have been made here. First of all, I believe this whole thing's very premature. This is all about land that's been allowed to the housing authority to use. It's only property that has been, the housing authority has the right to consider, or the opportunity to consider. There is no specific project in mind. Any project that would have to be proposed would have to be exposed to all the regulatory agencies that we have town, including conservation, planning board, the building department, the health department, the water department. So the reasons that are presented by the petitioners here are very valid concerns and reasons, but they don't belong before a town meeting. They belong before a regulatory board that is looking at a specific project in mind, that has the opportunity to view this specific project with dimensions and buildings and topography and engineering and septic and all the other parameters, environmental parameters that be there. That is why those boards exist. That is their purview. These people that are asking for this petition are asking you to spot zone an area of town because something that is a sensitive concern and probably very legitimate, but there's no reason to do anything through zoning, all right? It has to be done through the regulatory processes for developing any kind of building project. And so that is why the planning board did not endorse this proposal, because we want to assure that the proper procedures that are here, and the planning board didn't want to introduce any spot zoning. So I don't believe that this article or this petition should be at a town meeting. End of story.
Comments come on motion. Ms. Keller.
Veronica Cal, 68 Meadow Road. I am the select board representative on the Townsend Affordable Housing Trust. I just want to, what Mr. Therian says is exactly right, but I do just want to give just a little background. The trust was formed in 2020. The first board was seated in January 2020 by this body. It was seated by the select board in October of 2020. This body gave 6 pieces of property. Actually, it was town properties that transferred 6 pieces of property to the trust. We got a district local technical assistance grant that the planning board typically puts out there through MRPC to have a 5-year action plan completed. That was done in the spring of 2023. So the question for us was our task, and I wasn't on the board that whole time, but in any event, the task was to look at those 6 properties and see what could be developed. And so we've done our due diligence, and we worked with Mass Housing Partnership to find out which of those 6 properties could be developed most easily. The one that has no environmental constraints, and I know a lot of people here have said otherwise, is that 7 acres, and there was a wetland study done by Boland Engineering. Trust me, if it was wet, we would not be building there. And anybody that knows me knows that. So in any event, if you look at the concept, so the wetland study was done in the spring of 2024. If I remember right, it was done in April when the property was wet. And the piece of property we've given an easement, we being the Affordable Housing Trust, have granted an easement to the water department. It's the corner furthest down West Elm for a pumping station in order to pump water on us. So there's an easement there. And the wet area is across 13 from where that pumping station will be and on the other side of the line of that property. The concept is just that, it's a concept. It came back to us, I believe we got it in February. And just to say, hey, this is something that could be built. It doesn't mean that it's what's going to be built. But it is a concept. It was to answer the question, can anything be built on the properties that we were given? So we have a concept, and what that concept tells us is, yes, something can be built there. Will it be that? I don't know. Our next step is to go to the public, to get input and learn what it is that the community wants in the realm of community housing, workforce housing, which is what this is intended for. It is not Section 8 housing, and it isn't meant, I mean, unless we're gonna limit development on every parcel of land that has woods, in any event, doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But there's a concept. We are unable to use the funds. Everything that we've done without any funding. We've had grants through Mass Housing Partnership for technical assistance to look at all the properties that we have. The one on Wallace Hill doesn't have town water. We met with Rick Metcalf, and we would have to put in our own water system up there, and well, that's not going to happen. So the one on Wallace Hill won't have affordable housing on it until we have town water up there. The one on South Row Road, the property there has a lot of environmental constraints. There really are streams on South Row Road. I have yet to see a stream on the one that Bowler Engineering came back and said this one's developable. There's more work to be done, a lot more work. And we can vote it yes, we can vote it no, but there's still a lot more work to be done. We didn't have the money to go out to the public, so we will have the money. We do the RFP we've been working on, and I did watch the hearing, a lot of confusion around the RFP. The piece of property on Haynes Road, that's 3 acres, we are putting up for sale. That's what the RFP is. And that way, hopefully, we can recoup the funds that we are unable to use from ARPA to do the additional work that needs to be done, to go out to the public, to hold the community meetings, we're being thoughtful about it, and we've definitely done our due diligence. And what Mr. Therian said was exactly right. This is spot zoning. Are we gonna, look at every piece of property in town and come up with articles at town meetings to say, yeah, we don't want this here, we don't want that there. We really don't need the planning board to do anything more because we'll figure it out here at town meeting. I don't go along with that. So it is spot zoning, and the work has been done to look at it. It's not done yet, and there's a lot more to do. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, comments come on the motion. Ms. King.
Okay. Well, a couple of things. This petition wasn't about affordable housing. It was about the fact that its property was looked at, but it was looked at in a period of drought. And also that this is still considered a drought now. And I believe that it should be looked at again. And this petition was about not developing it because there's lots of wetland, and they actually, there is some of the area that is under, I have a map that says that, unfortunately I don't have it here with the presentation, but it has groundwater, what do they call it, overlays on the part of that property, and that's on town record. And the people that even in the planning board, some of the planning board members and some of the John Q. public that were there, so to speak, said when they voted the properties into the Affordable Housing Trust, they didn't know what it was all about. So as far as not having a newspaper present in town, I mean, there's some miscommunication and lack of communication about a lot of things, including what's been going on with this, because not everybody goes to those meetings or looks at the YouTube meetings, and I feel like some of these things are going on without adequate community representation, and I believe that this site should strongly be looked at again at a time when it's not a drought. And the other thing to be considered is that it's a high seasonal water table. So that would affect the building, and maybe some of these things are supposed to be looked at in the process, but to look at a property during a drought, that's not an accurate representation of the process.
That's all I need to say, thank you.
Okay. Comments come on the motion. Mr. Rideout.
Bill Rideout, 88 South Harbor Road, move the question.
Okay, motion's been made to move the question, so cut off debate. All those in favor of moving the question, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed to moving the question, say no. All right, it seems like unanimous to move the question. So it is before you. Article 6, to amend the bylaw has been discussed. I won't repeat it. All those in favor of this motion, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. No. Okay, this would, at the very least, require a majority vote. I don't think there's a majority in favor of it. 2/3, so it definitely does not make a 2/3 vote. I would so declare the vote not to meet the 2/3 required majority, and so the motion does not pass. I believe that's all the articles we have.
Motion to dissolve.
Motion to dissolve. Made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed, say no. The ayes have it. The meeting is dissolved. Thank you, everyone.